I don't know if you call it an episode of From Women in Business Adelaide to you. We're actually having a chat with a couple of lovely ladies who will introduce, or one of them will introduce herself later. I'm Adair Palmer. I've really cocked that up, haven't I? I'm Adair Palmer, and we're bringing you a special, we're calling it a panel session. So for Autism Acceptance, because April is Autism Acceptance Month, and we decided in the Women in Business Adelaide group that we wanted to help and celebrate and learn more about autism and how we can help people help people. So we're having a conversation today. I'll pop you over to Theone that way.
We get that wrong every time, don't we? And it's when I look back on the videos, I think that's the way I'm supposed to point, and then I forget by the next time we do a live together. So I'm Theone Rusianos, the other half of Women in Business Adelaide. And just exactly as Adair said, we usually have these sessions in our closed group, but we thought this was something that it's bigger than us, and it's more than just it's not only women who are touched by autism and care for people with autism, or even who have the diagnosis either. So we just thought awareness was a broader a broader audience needed to be there to hear the wonderful things people have to share. And Amanda, thank you for joining us. We'll leave you to introduce yourself because we don't want to balls it up. We've already balls the beginning up. We don't want to balls up your intro. So,
thanks, ladies, so much for having me on. Yes, so I'm Amanda, and I'm the owner and founder of a business called Autism Toolbox. Primarily, we supply education and sensory resources, but I also run a blog through the page. So I myself was diagnosed with autism at the age of 28. I've also got a nearly 11-year-old son who was diagnosed at the age of 4 with autism and quite a few other, comorbid disorders alongside with that as well, which I could discuss a little bit further on. And
that would be good.
And I'm a special needs educator as well, so I've got way too many degrees and diplomas next to my name, with Bachelor of Education, Masters of Education, Masters of Special Needs Education, and Diploma in Counselling, and still studying now. I've also got a nearly 1-year-old as well who is starting to show a few signs of being autistic himself as well. So with having a child, with myself being autistic, I'm very likely to have children that are autistic as well, because in my opinion, it's hereditary. I think both my parents are on the spectrum themselves, even though they don't want to admit it. And
so can I just ask, why you said in your opinion? Is that because there's nothing that said here's the gene that actually passes down, or?
I think there's so many, especially within the autism community, there's so many people have got different ideas on where it comes from. And I respect other people's views, and I respect other people's way of how they see autism. For me, I think it's hereditary. Whereas other people, they still view autism as being environmental. But it all comes down to that it's a neurological disorder, whether or not that it's occurred through genetics, which is what I believe from my research, as well as speaking to a lot of other experts in the autism field, or whether or not it's a neurological disorder from somewhere else. But before I start to, a lot of what I say is my opinion. I can't speak on behalf of other autistic women. I can't speak on behalf of the autism community. This is all just from me, my experiences, and from my research as well.
So this would have been awesome to get a few people on here, but it wasn't to be, I don't think, today. But it's a great starting point, I think. We did have lots of...
Sorry, we do have online April. April, if you would like to...
is she here?
Yeah, I can see she's watching with us. April, if you'd like to jump in, the guest link is above, I think, is it not, Adair?
It's in the pinned post, but it's also above. April is our net friend from the US, and she has what she calls her son, Morgan, is non-verbal I still get confused with the terms, and you certainly said a word earlier that I don't understand, but I'm sure you'll help us with that. But if April would come on, is able to pop on, it's about 11 p.m.
Yeah. So not
where
to put
she
you
is
on the
at the
spot,
moment.
April, but we'd love to have you and hear from you as well if you're prepared to, if you're ready to share.
And as Amanda said, there's a wide range of experiences and a wide range of opinions about it. And it looks to me like there's a whole heap of different ways that you can experience this as well. So
yeah, I think one of the key things to remember is that autism is a spectrum. That's why it's called autism. So one of the most famous sayings out there is that if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. So a lot of people turn around and go, "Oh, I don't believe you. I don't believe you've got autism because you don't act like my friend's neighbour's son's nephew."
okay.
But I think autism presents so differently, and that's why a lot of females do get missed, and they're not getting diagnosed until later on in life. Like myself and a lot of us in the adult women's community, like we're not getting diagnosed until either late teens or early 20s. One of my friends wasn't diagnosed until nearly 50.
Yeah, well, that was my sister was diagnosed. I think she just had her 51st birthday, and she was only just diagnosed in the last 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and she would actually be here. Oh, April said she would love to, but she's watching from bed. I did think it might have been a little bit late for you, hon. But please feel free to. Thank you for joining us, even at this late hour for you. And if you want to have any input from the comment section, we'd be more than happy to show the comments and have a bit of a conversation with you through the comments and also through our little chat that we're having here. So
and hello to Cheryl as well, who's watching. Thank you for joining us, Cheryl.
Beautiful. So you're saying that there is as I guess it's as many different ways that autism can present as there are people. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting when we gather, like in our autism community, we go on camps a lot together so South Australia has a non-for-profit organisation that I volunteer for called Absolutely Autism. And so we go on camps quite a number of times during the year. So you've got children, you've got adults. A lot of the adults are either diagnosed or you can tell they are autistic themselves. So you're sort of gathering all these people in the one room, and you definitely can see some similar. I mean, we are all following the same diagnostic criteria. So there are some similarities. Some of us like to fiddle with toys. I'm fiddling with my hands as I talk. Some people don't like to touch things. Some people will, love to touch things. So those are our sensory seekers. We've got sensory avoiders. Some people have got special interest. Some of us have even got same special interest. So when my son was younger, a lot of his friends were into Minecraft and Doctor Who. And then he had a beautiful boy start inside his class who the teacher told him that, he's got autism, same as my son. And he was so excited about this son starting school. And he came home in tears going, "Mum, I don't understand it. How can he have autism, but he doesn't like Doctor Who and Minecraft?" Oh. He just could not understand it. But I mean, that was a good learning opportunity for me to explain to him that, that we do have different special interest, and that. So so it's a good learning opportunity. But it's definitely interesting seeing a whole group of people together, and you can definitely see the similarities, but the differences as well. And I had a conference on Friday, and one of my beautiful friends said, we don't expect neurotypicals, which is what we call people that are not autistic. We don't expect neurotypicals to be inside the room and be the same as one another. We don't expect to walk into a church and see all these people with the same religion being the same as each other. So why do people see a group of autistic people and expect them to be the same as each other?
Yeah. I think that's a really valid point. And when a few years ago, I heard it was because I am absolutely uneducated or unfrienducated about this, which is why I'm really curious, because, like I said, it affects family members, and I are really keen to understand better how it is that I can help, just help my family members and others in my community to feel accepted and part of the community. But when it came up a few years ago around being on the spectrum, that really confused me because I didn't know the difference between autism and Asperger's. And my nephew was diagnosed with Asperger's, and I still don't actually fully understand the difference. It doesn't matter.
Not really. So recently, we now, with the new diagnostic criteria, we're now under the DSM-5. So back when it was the DSM-4, which is the diagnostic criteria that we need to, that the professionals assess us on to see whether or not we are actually autistic or not. When the DSM-4 was out, we had pretty much a line, like it looked like a line, and you would have, on one end, you would have Rett syndrome, and then the non-verbal autistics, which unfortunately they did link that to be low intellect. Then you had your high functioning autism, which means that they can communicate but could have an intellectual issue. And then you have on one end, then you've got P2D-NOS as well, which is, so they may be autistic, they may not be autistic. And then you've got your Asperger's on like the extreme end. So I guess typically those are your verbal, your intelligent, your high intellect individuals. But when the DSM-5 came in, they removed Rett syndrome completely from the spectrum, from the line. And they actually got rid of the diagnosis of Asperger's as well. So we all sit on this autism spectrum disorder, they call it, but we're trying to get rid of the disorder word because disorder has got this negative tone to it. So at the moment we're either saying, and I always put it back to the individual. Like for me, I say I'm autistic. Some people don't like saying, some people don't like using diagnostic first. So they might say, hi, I'm Amanda, I have autism. Whereas for me, I'm diagnosis first, so I'm autistic. For me, I don't argue with people. If that's the way they want to do it, that's their personal approach and how they want to approach it as well. So it just all depends on the language. So the other thing that we are trying really hard to get rid of too is this low functioning, high functioning tone as well. A lot of people are still using that within the community that hasn't quite been educated on it. But the low functioning has got this negative tone to it that we're trying to get rid of, and we're trying to educate people to show them that, you know, even though these children may not be able to talk verbally, it doesn't mean that they're not very intelligent individuals, and they can communicate in other ways through Prolog to Go and other communication devices. So one of my beautiful friends, she's got 2 children in the old language. Her older child has got Asperger's, and her younger child is non-verbal on the spectrum. He's now 19. He's finished school, and him and his father actually quit his job, and they've actually started a lawn mowing business together. So he's actually, I mean, at 19, he's a business owner. I mean, what other 19-year-olds can say that? And he's very intelligent. He communicates through a device, and doing amazing things.
Yeah, the ways that people can communicate is just amazing. I have a friend whose son is 3 months younger than my eldest, so he's 13, and he's been diagnosed, well, again, I guess it's not this anymore, but going on the old school form of diagnosis, he was diagnosed with dyspraxia.
Yes.
And so he's, he can speak, but he's difficult for people who aren't around him all the time. He can be difficult to understand, but he makes some sounds and things. So his parents and his teachers and his siblings can communicate with him, but he does use a program on his iPad, and he is extremely intelligent, and you can tell when he's getting his story across that, it's all there. So would it be fair to say that you can feel trapped in your body? You've got all this stuff in your head that you just need to find a way to sort of get it out there and communicate.
Yes, definitely. And I think that comes under, I guess, anybody. I mean, all of us can have difficult communicating at any point in time in our lives, really, that we have all this stuff inside our head going, oh, my God, how are we actually going to get all this out? and stuff. But I know a lot of my friends that have got children that are non-verbal on the spectrum. They do look and go, oh my God, what are you thinking? I wish that, just for 5 minutes I can just get inside your brain just to see how you see the world. And so I think my friend's son, she's quite public with her journey, so I know she wouldn't mind me talking about it. But he said his first word, which I think was mum, at the age of 10.
Wow.
I think, my oldest son now is, 10 going on to 11, and I just think, waiting all those years just to hear the word mum, it just would have just been the most amazing moment. And I think that's one thing I say to families as well when they first get the diagnosis is you are so grateful for every single thing that occurs, because it may be small to people with neurotypical children, but to us, like, it's huge. Like when my oldest son Josh, he tries new food, I celebrate because he has got oral dyspraxia. Over the years he has had a few issues with eating, so when he does try new food, it's amazing. And but other people that haven't been in that situation, they don't understand it, which is fine because they haven't been in that situation to have the background knowledge and actually knowing what that's actually like.
So what does oral dyspraxia actually mean?
So oral dyspraxia for Josh. So dyspraxia, there's a lot of dyspraxia that's out there, but for us, Josh has been diagnosed with oral dyspraxia, and for him, it means that he is learning, but he can't control the back of his tongue. So when his anxiety is really high, he has trouble with chewing and swallowing. So sometimes, like, he might eat a whole plate of food, and the last minute he might actually gag and vomit up all this food. Or if his anxiety is really high, he can't just drink out of a cup or a drink bottle. He needs to actually have a straw, so it actually misses his tongue and just goes straight to the back of his throat, and also his speech as well. We've got to be careful when he's anxious and overwhelmed. He can't properly communicate what he's trying to get across, and sometimes, like you said before, sometimes we're there to sort of communicate with him. Sorry.
So that was a term that you used when he's inside and
in high.
Oh, so high. So we call it sensory high and sensory low. So it's when our body is in, I guess, sensory overload.
Okay.
So from my perspective, sometimes when I go shopping, with all the bright lights, the music, the noise, the background noise, the amount of people, bright clothes that people wear, sometimes I go into, there's just so much to take in. So with an autistic brain, a lot of people with autism have also got sensory processing disorder as well. So some people can be underwhelmed by senses, but in my opinion, I think most people are overwhelmed. So you go into a shop and it's actually louder. So if a neurotypical and me walked into a shop, they might think that it was fine. For me, I could walk into a shop and go, no, that's too loud, I'm done, I'm out. We've just got, I call it my supersonic hearing. Mine just gets amplified a lot. And then if there's so many different conversations going on at once, you can't really keep track of the conversation because of all the background noise. So it does take us a lot more effort to I guess, follow conversation.
So the supermarket, I don't know if any of the supermarkets in Adelaide have done it, but the supermarkets that I saw a post on Facebook a while ago who had, I think it was a couple of hours they were open for people with children on the spectrum. Yes. So that they could shop. So the lights were dimmer and there was no music playing or anything through the, your elevator music or whatever it is they usually play when you're in the supermarket, that had all that off. So there obviously is a need for that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I just wish they'll do it all the time.
Yeah, because I don't know if anyone in Adelaide's done it. I've just seen videos shared on Facebook, but I don't know if any of them were local.
I think there's a few Foodlands around that have taken them on and stuff. So so it's called, I think it's called Quiet Hour. I think they've deemed it up. There's been actually a few places that have done that. So a few movie theatres as well has opened up and done like sensory screenings. So they allow the children to run around if they need to self-regulate, or the movie's not as loud or the lights are on. So so then they're not so overwhelmed. And a lot of my families actually said it was the first time they've actually been to the movies ever with their kids since they started doing these sensory sessions. So I think, like, acceptance and the whole thing, like, the world is definitely changing. It's definitely starting to listen to the autism community and sit back and go, okay, just sit back and actually start listening. Okay, how can we support people within our community?
So what sort of numbers, do you have statistics on people who have been diagnosed, and what sort of numbers we're looking at in terms of our local community? Because getting a sort of a bit of a scope on that would help. I'm a bit of a numbers person, even though I don't do numbers. I would like to, so we've got 1,000 people in our Women in Business Adelaide group, and if you say, well, 10% of the population are likely to be, it would give us an idea of sort of how many,
In saying that, it would actually be like the business community, because how we actually focus on, running our own business, running our families, be absolute killers at multitasking. In a business community, it would probably be a lot higher than what people actually expect it to be, because we could really intertask off.
And in the business community, a lot of women who, I've spoken to quite a few women who are in business, they're in business because they're caring for their children who are, with one, may not be autism, but with some sort of diagnosis. And so, there probably would be a high number. But then there's when you're looking at numbers and percentages, like your sister was diagnosed at 51 Adair, you probably couldn't put an accurate number on it, because there'd be a lot of people walking around who just have not been diagnosed.
Yeah, and that was exactly what I was going to say too. I think, people are starting to go, oh my God, it's an epidemic, so many people now are getting diagnosed, it must be the environment, it must be this, it must be this. And it's like, no, it's because there's more understanding out there now, and more people are getting diagnosed later in life than what they were back then. I mean, when I was growing up, the first time I ever heard about autism was at 14. I'm 33 now. It wasn't that long ago, and I think now there's more understanding around autism now, and around the characteristics and how the diagnostic criteria have changed, and people are starting to learn a lot more about it. So I think that's why it is. But the statistics at the moment is sitting. So I think the last time I checked, I'm only going by the American one, which we sort of base a lot of our statistics on. So it was 1 in every 59 males and 1 in every 169 females. And so that's why people keep saying, it's more common in males, but it's not just because of that. It's because females are not getting picked up until later on in life.
Okay. So is there anything that we can do, because we're almost out of time, and I did want to talk to you about a couple of things quickly. And one was diet and the environment, if that contributes as well. And the other was, is there any specific actions or any specific things that we can do to support, particularly for Theone and myself, to support women that are in our community who may or may not have been diagnosed, or who we can help others, So, and also the other thing was a bit about your toolbox, which I suspect has also information in there about what I'm asking.
Yeah. So with diet, what I always say to my families when they message and ask me about it is, give it a go. Just try it. So a lot of people in our community do what they call a gluten-free and, I was trying to think what it was. So pretty much a gluten-free and dairy-free diet.
Almost paleo kind of.
They get rid of both of those, and some people have seen a difference. For us, we saw a difference as well. And it's not about taking away the autism or curing it, because we don't want that. We find it amazing how we see life and how we view life. But it's just, for me, and for my son as well, it's getting rid of that anxiety and getting rid of that overwhelming feeling, and the amount of stuff that goes on inside the brain, just starting to calm it down a little bit. So we...
Would you think, sorry to talk over you, but would you think that something like sugar, because what did you call them? Neurotypical people go nuts on too much sugar. I know I can get drunk on a pavlova. So
that's what I was going to say. It's not about, eating clean or whatever is going to cure your autism. But even with neurotypicals, if you eat crap food, you're going to feel like crap.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So, and it does come out in different behaviours and stuff in neurotypical people as well. So it would make sense that it's got nothing to do with the autism. It's just about, it's going to make you feel better, which will help you adjust your behaviours and adjust to different, I guess, control whatever it is that you need to control.
Yeah, I definitely noticed a difference though. So when I had my older boy, I was a young mum. I really just learnt as I went along, as most of us do, no matter what age we have our children. And Josh became obsessed with the up and goes. And I took it away from him, and probably about a year later, we were out, and he said, "Oh, Mum, can I have an up and go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. Look, special treat, once off, sure, go for it." And it was like, after not even one, I reckon 1 or 2 mouthfuls, it was instant. He was rocking back and forth. He was hand flapping, and he's never a runner, but he just got up and literally started running around this shop that we were in, and it scared me. Like, he never ever touched the stuff since then. And then we're gluten-free as a choice in our family. Like, none of us are celiacs, but we're gluten-free as a choice in our family. But recently we were starting to actually see signs that, Josh might actually be celiac. So we had to put him back onto gluten so then for a few months, so then we can do the testing. And within like not even 24 hours, there was a massive difference. He was having meltdowns again. He was crying at the drop of a hat. It was amazing to see the difference in his behaviour straight away. But I mean, like you said, that could happen to a neurotypical as well. But that's just, our family journey with diet too. I've had a lot of my friends that have had huge success with it too. So Adair, following on to what I guess people can do is talk to people. Exactly what we're doing now. Talk to people that are autistic. Talk to parents with children that are autistic. Talk to them about what they want, how they view the world, because it's so important to get so many other people's opinions on it. For me, I want to normalise autism. I want people, like, I'm in a lot of parenting groups now, having a young baby again, and so many families are like, "Oh no, my son's showing signs," and it's all, it's the worst, it's the worst thing ever, and they're all down and depressed about it. But I want people to go, okay, my child might be autistic, but that's okay. I think there's so many negative feedback out there on what autism actually is. But whereas for me and what I do with Autism Toolbox is, okay, yes, we do talk about, the meltdowns, and we do talk about being overwhelmed. And I'm quite open with, walking into a shop and going, can't do this, I'm out. And I'm very open with my journey. But I also talk about the gifts that autism's brought into our lives. And I don't think that I would be the mum or the person or the partner that I am today with not being autistic and be able to manage as much as I do. So right at the moment, like, our 1-year-old does not sit still ever. And all my friends are like, were you expecting to actually have a child that sits still? Like, when do you ever sit still? Like, and I am doing a lot, and I always get comments on, how do you manage so much? But I do think it's because of my autism, and that's my gift. That's how my brain works. That's how my brain functions. Josh is quite similar to me. He's got passions. I mean, he's a 10-year-old that, every single time they sit down and do coding he's in year 5, they have to jump like 14 lessons for him just so he can get to a level that he can access the curriculum. And he is incredibly intelligent as well. He was reading from the age of 1. Like, he very, very intelligent child, and so, that's his gift. And, we think, if our brain was wired differently, would we have these gifts that we're bringing into the world? And of course, we're all here for a reason.
I think my sister and 2 of her children have, and I think you know them, have been both diagnosed. One's in his 30s, or about to be 30, I think. He lives with us, and her other son is the same age as my youngest son. And it was quite funny because he was reading at, I think it was about 3 or 4. And my son saw him doing this, and he was going, "Hey, what? If he can do that, I can do that too." So he was actually like a mentor and a coach to his peers, like his cousin.
Yes.
At age 3, because it's like, he was a really good example of, you know, something really positive coming out of the gifts that he's got.
Yes.
And it's like, you know, it's my son's, well, you know, if he can do that, well, maybe I can too. So
it's definitely amazing to watch. I've just recently been accepted into Autism CRC Future Leaders. And so all of us that have been accepted, so 17, I think, of us all around Australia and New Zealand that have been accepted into this program.
Congratulations.
Thank you. There's a beautiful lady over there, and she said one of the programs that she actually runs, she actually gets the autistic children to teach the neurotypicals Minecraft.
Yeah.
And I thought, what an amazing thing. And one thing like our school does really well is, so we've had quite a number of children come through our school. We had one child that was non-verbal on the spectrum, and then, you know, of course, Joshy goes there too. But, you know, all these children are learning from day dot of school to accept these children and accept the differences and to support them in their own environment. And I think, you know, we can learn a lot from these kids.
Totally, we can. Totally. Well, I think we could talk for quite a long time. I'd actually, regardless of whether it's going to be Autism Acceptance Month, I'd like to have, you know, maybe another time have another session, and we can get some other people on as well, because I'd love for people who could maybe have a different time of the day, so we can incorporate April's story with her son, and maybe we'll get Emma. I know she's pretty tired because she did have the conference on Friday as well, so it would be lovely to speak to yourself again and some other people as well. And I think we don't need to wait until a special month. I think we can have it whenever we please. So
I think that's the other thing as well. Like April, is April Autism Acceptance Month, but hey, let's bring acceptance in all year round.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I think that's beautiful. So people, if you are watching this on the replay, please share, help us increase acceptance of autism. That is awesome. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you sharing your time, or investing your time with us, or letting us invest time with you.
Well, and also to those watching, thank you for giving us your time, and as Adair said, investing your time in watching back. And share away, because you don't know who needs to hear a message.
Yeah,
and you don't know what helps out there.
No. I'll post comments below, direct link to Autism Toolbox as well. So I often post a lot in there about our journey.
That would be awesome.
I do have Joshy's permission as well to share his stories, and we talk often about it and stuff. So he's known as Jay. In our Autism Toolbox community, and yeah, I don't share any photos or anything of him, but yeah, I do share stories with his permission.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
All right, well, thank you so much.
That's okay.
We'll see you again soon, I hope.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
Bye for now.